Hello, good day, and it's Rory Cowan's Q&A, and I'm Avri
Hello
Citron.
again.
Hi, Rory.
Hello everybody, how are you? So where we got today? Oh, let me see. Oh, come here till I tell you. I always thought this was an urban myth, but I'm backtracking now. I need to backtrack a bit. I've got thousands of fans on Twitter, and I got this message from a woman who lives in Australia the other day, and it played on my mind. Apparently, I thought it was an urban myth that people film the birth of their children, but apparently they do. I don't know anyone who's ever done it, but apparently they do. This woman said her sister had a baby and they filmed the birth of it, and she's just waiting to be invited out, and she just knows, she's not looking forward to it, but she just knows they're going to highlight of the evening after the dinner and everything like that. They're all going to sit down and watch the birth of this child, which, anyway, whatever tickles your fancy, I suppose. But if ever any of my friends who are watching this, if ever you think that I would want to see the birth of any of your children, don't even think that would be of any interest to me. I'd probably throw up all over your lovely sofas. As a matter of fact, if ever I was to hear somebody saying, here comes the Head and Shoulders, they better be talking about shampoo. They really better be talking about shampoo. Anyway, let's get on with the questions. Here we go.
Okay, so when you were a boy, who were the popular singers of the day that you liked?
Now, in the 60s, I know everyone, when they think of the 60s, they think of the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Doors, Summer of Love, all this hippie stuff. All that passed me by. I wasn't aware of any of it. I was a kid in the 60s. Actually, here's a photograph of me. What do you think of that? Cute little child. That was me in the 60s. So I was about 7 or 8 there. But for me, the 60s was Sandie Shaw. Anytime I think of the 60s, that was her. She epitomises the 60s for me. That's just it. As I said, the Beatles, all those big bands passed me by. I didn't know them. I didn't get into the Beatles until about 1970, 71. But in the 60s, it was Sandie Shaw. She was gorgeous. She was so glamorous. I saw her first in the Eurovision in 1967.
What was her big hit?
Well, the Eurovision one was Puppet on a String. She always had always something there to remind me, Girl Don't Come. She had a load of hits, but Puppet on a String was the one. That's when I became aware of her. And when she was in the Eurovision, we were all sitting down to watch it, and we were hoping Ireland would win. Well, I was hoping Ireland would win. It was Sean Dunphy at the time, if I could choose. I remember that well. He came second. But as soon as Sandie Shaw came on, I just immediately fell in love with her. And that was it. For me, there was nobody else in that Eurovision Song Contest. And I knew she was going to win. And she did win. And that was sort of the end of the highlight of her career chart-wise. It was her final number one. She had 3 number one singles. The only woman to do that until years later when Madonna did it. But she was brilliant, and she was way ahead of her time. She was so glamorous. She was gorgeous. But I remember at the end of the 60s, she recorded an album, and she covered tracks by the Rolling Stones and Nielsen and people like that. And I think she was probably the first female singer to do that. Her manager, from what I can gather when I read her book, her manager wanted her to be more of a cabaret type singer, middle of the road type singer, but that didn't suit Sandie Shaw, where she probably would have made more money and she probably could have had a great career doing that. She wouldn't have been happy doing it, so she didn't do it. And I always admired that. She was in a business, but she wanted to do it her way, and she used to sing in her bare feet and everything. She was just great. But then years later, she recorded with the Smiths in the 80s, and it just goes to show you that because she stuck to what she wanted, she was able to move along through different genres of music. And in the 80s then she was recording with the Smiths. So I loved her. And even now, where she's not singing anymore, I know she has a clinic, and I'm not sure whether it's psychology or psychoanalyst or something, but whatever it is, she does this thing as well where in the clinic she helps these new singers or new bands or new musicians that are coming into the business. She'll help them with contracts, how to deal with certain things that are going to come along, and how to deal with success, which is a great thing for people to do, because in her day and in the 70s and the 80s, most of the people who were coming through popular, they were kids themselves, only 19, 20, 21 or even younger. And they would sign their life away. They would sign things and then realise years later they'd made bad decisions and it cost them a fortune. Sandie Shaw actually helps these younger people these days, and I think that's fabulous. So anyway, Sandie Shaw is the main one. In the 60s it was female artists. The Beatles, all those groups went beyond. I wasn't aware of them, but Dusty Springfield I loved, Cilla Black I loved, Lulu I loved. But Sandie Shaw was just miles ahead of the rest of them as far as I was concerned, and she still is. I just love her. She's fabulous.
Lovely.
So there you go.
Lovely. Thanks for
I don't think
that.
we're going to get any more questions in 60 seconds, and once I've talked about Sandie Shaw, I could go on for hours. Anyway, there you go.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye. See you tomorrow.